Hi everybody, let's talk about teeth, shall we? That's what I want to talk about today, is dentition and teeth and how to not only prevent issues, which is the goal, but to remedy issues that, have happened. And this is a live Facebook chat, so I'm just going to talk a little bit before people join, and I'm going to try to answer some questions throughout. And I actually made some notes today because there's a lot to cover. And dentition is a huge, huge, huge issue. I mean, I'm not going to cover it all today, obviously, but I want to get through a lot of it to sort of hone in your own focus on what you can research further, if you have a dentition issue. What can you do, because really the modern world doesn't give a lot of options to us in the controlled, societal, medical cult paradigm. It's like you go to a dentist and they're either going to drill and fill, or they're going to give you an antibiotic, they're going to promote toxic fluoride. They're not going to really give you the type of options that I'm going to present for you today. So I'm hoping that it's clear, and I'm hoping that it will inspire you to do some more research for yourself, because really in this modern world we have to be our own researchers. I'm a researcher. I've trained as a naturopathic doctor. I have a Bachelor of Science, but all that knowledge really just gave me a structure in which to research further and know how to find the truth from the hyperbole. So it's taken me quite a journey. I'm 42 now, and it's taken me a while to figure all this out. And I'm still figuring it out. So you never really arrive, you just keep working at it. So I want to share a little bit about my own dentition history, a little bit about my daughters, and some of the people that I've helped with their teeth. And then I want to go through, well, there's comments, but I'm not seeing them show up. Hold on. I want to go through and see, I don't know what comments aren't showing up, sorry. Questions and so forth. Something must be wrong. Anyway, I might not be able to interact with you, sorry. But anyway, I have so much to get through, I think it might be okay this time. But I do want to talk about some of the studies, the nutrition, why we have dentition issues at all, different types of issues that we get, and what's traditionally done, and why those things are obviously, quite hazardous to our health. And then I want to talk about some solutions and remedies that we have if we are unable to prevent an issue in the first place. Okay, so let's get started. I can't see comments. I'm going to maybe see if I can open it up in a new tab. Maybe I'll try that, because I like to interact when I can, because it's, it's good to know. So, oh, it's weird because I'm kind of watching myself if I do that. Okay, so I can see comments over here, so we're good. I just don't want to be put asleep and my future wife be right next to me. What does that mean? AJ, can you clarify that? I've had a bad experience at dentists. Well, a lot of people have had bad experience at a dentist, including myself, and it's a horrible experience. Nobody wants to sit in a chair and have big needles put in them and have that horrible drilling sound, and extraction of teeth is just so yucky. So hi Lisa, yeah, I know we had your tooth issue that we got through, which was really more of a gum issue, and I'm going to talk about the difference with those two things. And yeah, I know Errol's going through it too. Well, so AJ just said, he said oops and burned my lip. Well, yeah, I had a dentist say oops, and his laser went into my sinus cavity. So that was kind of a big oops, and I've been dealing actually with chronic migraines from a secondary, I'm pretty sure it's been a strep infection in the scar tissue inside the sinus that he punctured. So yeah, dental disasters, let's just try to prevent them. thing is, a lot of people just, they don't think ahead. They don't contemplate what needs to be done to prevent the issue in the first place, right? All they do is they have an emergency, and now they have to go to another authority to fix it for them. And so my hope is that people can start to really take self-responsibility for their own health and for their own health on all levels, like, I mean, mental, emotional, physical, dental, right? So that's really what I try to help people do, is feel empowered to do it on their own, or get a guide like me who can kind of just shape it for them. Because thing is, there are so many ways to do this, and that's what's almost laughable about the world we live in, the modern world, is that there are many paths to health. There are many ways to do it. I mean, I could talk about frequency and gem elixirs and, homeopathy, and, like, I mean, the amount of remedies, the amount of healing that we can have through these things is so profound. I could never fit it into a small little discussion like this. But the point is, what is experienced, what works faster, those kinds of things too, comes from someone who's experienced, who's seen it, what does happen in certain cases. And so really that's over a period of time, and you don't just get that directly from the internet all the time, right? So it is good to find some help. I'm not saying you have to do it all by yourself. I'm just saying arrange your team appropriately, and but it's up to you. Like, the healing's really up to you, right? Yeah. And when you do heal, you do feel good, because you feel like you have that empowerment, that sense of purpose for yourself, that I can take care of these things. I know now what to do the next time something happens. I can get better at it myself, for my own body, and I can learn about my own body and what works for me versus what doesn't work for me, and what might work for another person might not work for me. So even with diets, and we're going to talk about diets, because the root cause of dental issues is our diet. I mean, okay, the root cause of all disease is our diet. Let's just generalize it even one step further. But what I'm saying is, the way in which we choose the things that we put inside our mouths affect these guys. Okay, so you'll have tons of, like, raw food gurus say that living raw vegan diet is the key to pristine teeth, and they're right. And then you'll get some paleo people saying that the key to healthy teeth is a fat-filled, animal fat and protein-rich diet, and they're right too. And so that's where it gets really confusing, because again, there's different ways to attain health, and I prefer to do things without animals wherever necessary, because the way in which we use animals is, to me, an ethical debauchery. It's just a disaster, and I really don't want any type of interaction with that. And also on a spiritual side, I feel the density of that spiritually, so I prefer not to imbibe in most animal products, or if I do, it's very, very, very selective. However, when we're talking about repairing teeth or preventing issues with teeth, when you look at the history and the studies done, the most healthy diets in the tribal communities that were studied with Dr. Weston A. Price, he showed that they all ate raw dairy, animal blubber in the Eskimo community, for example, lots and lots of fish, lots and lots of egg yolks, a lot of high cholesterol diets, a lot of high fat and high animal protein, and the fats had to be animal based. A lot of butter, a lot of grass-fed butter. So that can become controversial on an ethical standpoint, and someone who's vegan and has lived that, and they have healthy teeth, obviously they're mineral rich in their bodies, and they're getting the right nutrients to prevent dental issues, which is really what this is about. So if we get the right nutrients in our bodies, we won't develop dental issues. And that can even be said about, like, say, stress. Stress can reduce your digestive capability so that you're not absorbing and assimilating your nutrients properly. So you're still not getting the right amount in your body, right? Because when you have enough minerals, if you have enough vitamin D, enough vitamin A, enough vitamin K2, and those are the molecules that, or the vitamins that help shuttle and move everything else to where it's supposed to go, then you won't get caries, and you won't need a root canal, and you don't need fluoride. No one ever needs fluoride. But so let's get into it a little bit more, and I will take questions as they come. I see a lot more people have joined. I'm very glad to see you. Thanks for taking some time on this really beautiful day, which I should be out gardening. I'm just taking a break from gardening right now, but I'll go out again later. I like gardening in dresses. That's actually my favorite thing. Just a side note. I really like gardening in a dress. It's almost like saying, I can do anything, world. I can garden in a dress. Yes, I can, and I will. So later, I'll be gardening in this dress. Anyway, okay, so let's get started. So let's talk about some studies and some research that has proven a lot of, what I'm going to be talking about, and then backing up, or I'm backing it up with this research, is Pottinger's cats. I don't know if you know this about this study. I use it, I help a lot of animals as well with holistic healing. And so I often tell my customers or my patients owners about this study, which was done over 6 cat generations, and by Dr. Pottinger. And so he took cats and he made them have a diet of milk, meat, organs, body organs, and bones. So basically the whole animal. I don't recall, I think he did egg too. I don't recall if it was chicken or just chicken or beef, but it was a whole animal. So anyway, you can look up that study. It's a very famous study. So what he found when he gave the one group the raw components of the animals, so everything was raw, and then he took the same and he cooked it, and the milk was pasteurized, and so gave that to the cats. So what he started to see was that in the raw food group, you had healthy live births, you had healthy skin and coat, rates of disease were basically nil, you had no problems with actually of the mother birthing. There were no issues there. They didn't suffer from any type of a chronic illness or arthritis, and they lived their whole lives, and they just died basically of old age. Their behavior was acceptable for cats. They were hunters, they played, they had all kinds of wonderful things, and that was their life. And then he compared that to the cooked food groups. He did a few different controls as well, which I won't talk about. But so the cooked food, which was this exact same except cooked, first generation they were okay. Second generation, they already started to show signs of birthing issues in the mother, where she was having trouble with birth. Litter sizes were lower. Average litter size of a cat usually about 5, so they would be a lot less. The cats would maybe have a stillbirth in one of the cats. And the other thing that we started to notice was, the fur was lackluster, the face shape. So there's a shape, so your jaw actually forms the shape of your face. So the shape was more sunken and thin. The teeth didn't, there's a bite, so they didn't bite properly, and were also having nasal and breathing issues because, again, all the structure of the way the dentition comes in and forms, right? So that was after already seeing that in the second generation. By the third, fourth, fifth, sixth generations, basically they were infertile, completely infertile. They also went kind of cuckoo. They lost their mental capacity. They lost a lot of their drives. They became schizophrenic or mentally aberrated, where they would circle. They would have anxiety issues and other types of dysfunctions. Lots of immune system diseases. So just from going from a raw food to a cooked food, they died out. It killed the lineages, basically. That's an important study. That's comparing live to dead foods and saying that eating live foods is life and eating dead foods is death. I mean, that's a very, very well done, well executed study, well documented study that could be easily done again, repeated. It fits all the principles of the hypothesis of proper science and rigor of science, and yet it is almost ignored, in our modern medical cult, which I call it, because let's face it, it's a cult, okay? It's run by mind control and false ideologies and belief systems that just don't hold to truth. So that's a cult. Okay, so Pottinger's cat then, and I touched on it, with Weston A. Price. Weston A. Price, okay, another brilliant doctor who, this was like turn of century, like 1900s, so early 1900s. He was born in like late 1800s. He started to see his patients with all these diseases that, were kind of new to him. They were having problems with, you name it, you name the disease, stuff he'd never seen before, like even fibromyalgia and this chronic tiredness and there was one name that I wrote on my notes. See if I can find it. No, I don't think I wrote it down. It was really cool. It was like a neurological disease that they called chronic fatigue back then. It wasn't called chronic fatigue, but it was present. It was just called something else. It was like neuroma or neurolo, something. I'll look it up and I'll put it in after. But it was really neat because I was like, yeah, see, it was back then still. So they started to introduce, canned products, refined corn syrup and sugars. Nothing became fresh. Everything was now processed. And these processed oils, these hydrogenated oils like miracle margarine that never spoils, like, thinking that this modernization is so awesome because it's not going to spoil. But actually what margarine does is shellacks your intestines. Yeah, so shellacked intestines basically will not absorb nutrients. So just think about that for a second. When you're eating hydrogenated vegetable fats, you're not doing your body any good. You're clogging up your liver. That's the main cause of liver congestion, is the rancidity of these vegetable oils, okay? And inflammation, yes, too. And you're basically putting all this silky material on the inside of this intestines that's supposed to be semi-permeable and has an enzyme system to take your food, break it down, and get into the blood and get it to its destination, right? So yeah, so they were eating all this stuff and they were getting really sick. I mean, yes, dentition. Connection issue. Okay, so see if I can get back here. Oh, okay. Sorry, I had a connection foible, but I am back. Okay, so what I was saying about Weston A. Price. So he got curious. He was like, okay, this is ridiculous. These people have osteoporosis and rheumatoid arthritis and all these weird diseases that I've never seen before, and seizure disorders. Let me travel the world and go to every untouched, untapped tribe and see how their teeth are. Let's just see how it is. Now, he is particularly disturbed regarding the children's teeth. because children should not be going through that. They absorb well. They haven't had all the issues and the damages to actually have that level of caries, of cavities and inflammations and so forth, right? So he was pretty concerned about that. He was a doctor who actually cared. Yes, he was. So, and you can go to the Weston A. Price Foundation, and there's so much cool information there. I really recommend reading up on that and learning about it. So it's just helpful to understand nutrition. You know, this is more of a non-vegan side of things because it's very much promoting animal fats and proteins. So, but anyway, it's good information. And okay, so he went everywhere. He went to like remote island of Scotland. He went to New Zealand and the Maori tribes. He went to New Zealand, and like he went everywhere. Every tribe you could think of, the guy did, and went and studied what their teeth looked like. Now they had cameras back then, which was great because he actually took photographs of their. So he had a rigorous way of studying it. So he took the shape of their face, the actual dentition, looked at the elderly and the youth. He studied what they ate primarily. That was documented. He took samples of the food and took it back to the lab and studied it. He, shape of the nose, the way the eyes sat, you name it. He looked at all of it. And basically the conclusion is that they never brushed their teeth. They had like a green slime over their teeth, but no disease. So green slime is not that hot, but they still had no disease, which is pretty cool. Maybe they could use a stick every now and again. Maybe if they're getting married, they could just clean that up a little bit. But, you know, they didn't need to because they didn't have issues like that. They didn't get inflammations at the mouth. And the rest of them, they didn't have the other diseases as well. So it was more than just teeth. They didn't get the arthritises and the osteoporosis and all that stuff, all the issues with the skeleton they didn't have. Okay, so what he noticed the difference was when he studied all of this in the lab, and another, you know, great book is his book. Like, everyone should read that book. I'll get the name for you because I know I pulled up one of the links, and I can put it in the chat box too, or in the YouTube. I'll probably put this on YouTube as well, so then you can review it if you missed something or you want to share it with someone. But it's called Nutrition and Physical Degeneration by Weston A. Price. I mean, this should be a book, like when you're kind of born, you're given a few things, and like this book, here you go and like figure out how to eat properly, because, you know, McDonald's ain't it. But anyway, so what he found was that once the modern diet came in with all the pro-inflammatory foods and the bad hydrogenated oils, like I was saying, also he found that the grains, the refined grains, contain high levels of phytic acid. So on a seed kernel, when like anything that's going to be planted in the ground and become a plant has phytic acid around the kernel, because that's what protects it from, you know, being damaged. So you can, you know, save seeds. However, that large amount of phytic acid in the body, now some is fine and some is actually needed by us, but that huge amount of it just threw off the calcium phosphorus balance in our blood gases, in our blood. And then when calcium and phosphorus are in the inappropriate ratio, you do not get shuttling you don't get absorption and shuttling of those nutrients, and you have to use more just to try to balance that system. So basically it's using vitamin A and D to try to mitigate the damage in the blood, never mind work on bones and hair and nails and everything else that it's going to do. The immune system depends on vitamin A and vitamin D, right? And vitamin C as well, which, you know, is part of this. Also, high doses of vitamin C is one way we correct some of this issue, which I'll talk about in a little bit. So we're not getting nutrients because we're giving ourselves things that take the nutrients away, even if we are eating it, take the nutrients away just to try to balance that out. So you know, that the teeth take the hit. You know, teeth are kind of one of those things that if the body has to prioritize an emergency, Teeth is not that high on the list. Teeth is like, all right, get rid of the teeth. Save the heart. Save the liver that processes the blood every 3 to 4 minutes. Let's keep those vital organs going and let's just ditch the teeth. So, right? I mean, they are vital to us, the way we chew, the way we can eat, the nutrition, ironically enough, right? But the body does prioritize when it's in an emergency state. Okay, so Weston A. Price, I highly recommend reading that book and looking at that information because it's just going to help you understand why we need to really look at the diets that we're eating. I mean, the tribes were basically eating food, and if they did eat green food, it was in rich soil, mineral-rich soil. So we've also damaged our soils, and we've added toxins into the food that we are eating. So that, again, like your body has to detox all of that too, right? So it's just, you're adding insult to injury constantly. I mean, it's a miracle we're even alive. Sometimes that's what I look around and I go, there has to be a God, because we'd be all done by now. And we're kind of on an epoch of, I think, the end of health as we, in the modern world. I think this is going to go in a sourpuss kind of direction, because how can we keep this up? I mean, we're going to get infertile if we keep doing this. I say we as a general we, like I don't eat like that, but I'm saying in a general we. I'll be around, but y'all maybe not, generationally speaking. I mean, they're vaccinating, they're poisoning themselves on so many different levels. They're not having natural births. Like there's tons more added to that problem, right? And then the food, and there's your mental health as well, right? You are what you eat in so many ways. Okay, so let's switch. So that's the evidence, if you will. I mean, there's way more. But this is large studies, long-term studies, well-done studies that show these are the vitamins and minerals that are needed for dentition, for health, and here's what we do to destroy it. It's pretty cut and dry. Okay, so let's talk about fluoride a little bit. Then the disaster of fluoride came on, because now here you have, if you just ate right, you wouldn't need anything. You wouldn't need any of it. You wouldn't even need to talk about it. There wouldn't be toothbrushes, toothpaste, dentists, all the stuff. I mean, maybe you'd have a dentist if you had an injury to a tooth and you had to deal with an injury. Or you had remedies because you had to deal with again, injuries happen, right? Like you got hit, sports, something happened where you got hit. Yeah, okay, right, maybe there'd be a dentist for that. But I'm talking about from a nutritional standpoint, you wouldn't need any of it. Even the natural remedies I'm going to talk about in a few minutes, you wouldn't need any of those, because you wouldn't need to repair anything, right? So even the holistic paradigm is coming in as fixing. We have to now fix, because we couldn't prevent. We couldn't set it up strong. So now we have to try to fix it without damaging the body even further. And that's the problem with fluoride. Because fluoride is first of all, it's a neurotoxin. It's a known neurotoxin. This is not like naturally sourced earth fluoride that's bound, anything like that. This is a industrial waste product that was sold, as corporations being psychopathic will do. They don't want to lose money anywhere. As much as they can, they want to have a waste product actually bring them money instead of having to dispose of something so toxic, right? Hey, let's sell it to the toothpaste industry. Yay, I'm so smart. I mean, that person who had that idea, wow, I obviously has no moral aptitude, so, or just does not know what they were doing from any type of health standpoint. Because what fluoride does, yes, it's a neurotoxin. Yes, it builds up in the pineal gland and the pituitary gland, and it damages the immune system, and it damages the neurological systems in the body. But it also, ironically, weakens bones. So here you are taking something, and like, I remember when I was a kid, before I knew a lot of anything really, and I'd go to the dentist, and they put those little guards in, remember those? With the like disgusting flavored gel, and you'd sit on that, in your teeth for like, I don't know, 15 minutes, and you're in the dentist chair, and you know it's over, This is the end, and you're gonna get out, and maybe you'll get a toothbrush and a lollipop. Yeah. Okay. So that fluoride's sitting on these teeth. So, but what it does is it actually does strengthen. It does strengthen the outer part of the bones when you ingest it, and the teeth, because it calls in calcium to that area, but at the expense of the pulp, at the expense of the structure. If you study any histology and you just go and look at living bone, because it's a living tissue, right? It's moving, it's changing. It has all these little pockets, and it has these little scaffoldings all inside. And it weakens the scaffolding basically inside all the bones of the body to beef up the outside. So it's an illusion. It's an illusion of strength. It's false strength. And eventually that will become too heavy. It will pull and bow and change the shape of the bones, because again, just think about it. You're putting all this plaster, say, outside of your house while you're taking away all your support beams. What's going to happen? It's going to collapse. It's going to change its shape. It's going to slump. So that's what happens in the body. And it does not make your teeth strong. It's just a lie. It's a lie. It makes your teeth brittle. It makes your bones brittle. It sets you up for disease and for losing your teeth, basically, and osteoporosis and other issues like that. So no, no, no on the fluoride. No fluoride toothpaste. Do not drink fluoridated water. And then they had the idea that just because it touches the teeth, you should drink it too. I mean, that just got a little crazy. That is not doing anything of health for your body to ingest that. In fact, I'll talk a little bit about boron. I've talked about boron before, and boron is essential for removing fluoride from the body, which is excellent, because there's not too many products that at least I know about that can do that, and boron can do that, and I'll tell you that remedy in a few minutes. Okay, so how are we doing out there? Let me just check on anybody's having any questions. No? Good. Okay, so does that mean you're intently listening to me? My God. All right. Okay, so here we go. Now, what fluoride, so fluoride's out of the picture. Now, you want to clean your teeth. You want to obviously use your teeth. So use your toothbrush. Like, we don't want the green slime, right? I mean, I'm not really into that too much. So we can do other things to clean out the mouth and to kill the bacteria. Like, if we're coming from a germ theory paradigm, which I'm not, but I'm going to talk from that angle for a second, then what we're doing is we're blaming a bacteria for causing dental caries. And that bacteria is called strep viridans. It's a streptococcus bacteria that wears away at the tooth. They say that sugars feed it, but they don't eat sugar like that. That's not really true. That's not really what happens. But what happens is your mouth is a specific pH. It's supposed to be quite a nice 7-ish alkaline state. And if you continue to put acid-forming foods, you're going to throw off that pH, and you're going to invite the bacteria, and they're going to have a good time in there. So it's not really the sugar itself, you know, or the ice cream or whatever you're eating itself that's feeding them, but it's throwing the pH off. And also the sugars, when it goes in your body, is damaging the immune system, which then prevents the immune system from taking those guys and getting them out of there. So yeah, so that can cause the problem of the caries, the dental caries, or gum disease as well. But the thing is, you can kill them. And so that's the germ theory. These guys are causing the problem. Let's just kill them. And like, that's a whole antibiotic thing. Like, let's just get the antibiotics in there. They use amoxicillin traditionally, and that's really the only one that they'll give you is an amoxicillin. And they say that you can't get rid of it, an infection in the mouth, without it, which I totally disagree with, and in fact is more dangerous to the body to use it. But they don't address the fact that it's an internal causation, right? We're going after this topically. We're trying, because you have a runaway infection. Yeah, okay, we're going to do a little bit of killing because it's just part of a protocol. But that's not the only thing you need to do. You have to do it holistically, which means whole body. You have to do it from the inside out to get it really to work, to be successful, right? And once an infection takes hold, it's very stubborn. It can be very stubborn, and it wants to invade. It wants to live. It wants to go into all these nice, shiny, warm places like sinuses. You know, it can go up in these sinuses. Ears, can affect the ears, can affect the eyes, and can infect the neural tissue. So people can get like facial neuralgia from the facial nerve. Okay, so yeah, we want to go after that. So when I learned fluoride was a problem, I started to buy natural toothpaste that did not have that. But I found that some are okay, but they still contain some other chemicals and things that I wasn't really into. Propylene glycol, you know, there were just some other things in there I wasn't really wanting to support. So when I started my business here, I actually developed a cavity. I was very stressed. They say after you have a baby, you know, sometimes it's like one tooth per baby, or you lose one tooth per baby that you have. And I had a long, hard road with my own teeth because I broke a tooth. And I want to talk about teeth and organ systems because there's more to it. Like your teeth just aren't sitting in your mouth and they're not connected. They're all interconnected. So I'll just take the story a little bit back and then I'll lead up to the pregnancy, and I'll try to make it brief. But it's an interesting one because it sort of ties in a lot of things I wanted to bring in. So when I was young, I had what they classified as irritable bowel syndrome, which was just inflammation of my small intestine, which affected my large intestine. So basically my small intestine and large intestine were greatly affected, more so my large intestine ultimately, and affected my liver. So I had digestive issues, and ever since a baby, because I wasn't really breastfed, and I was given cow's milk, which was pasteurized, and like I was saying, that's dead milk will degrade the body, right? It takes away nutrients from the body, so it doesn't, like raw milk. If I was fed raw milk, I would have thrived. I would have been okay, and I probably would have had my stomach okay, like my stomach would have made it. But things they didn't know then, right? So anyway, I had IBS as a result, sort of prolonged, and the way that I internalize my stress. So I can come across very calm, cool, collective, but maybe I'm holding it, you know, in my core. And a lot of people are like that. They'll either hold it in their head or they'll hold it in their core when they're feeling stressed. So that was where my stress center was. And it went back to my sense of who I am. Like, it's a whole spiritual aspect to it. Like, I won't get into chakras, I won't get into all that, but I had a lot to heal. So I did. But the teeth, then I was eating some quinoa, and there was a small stone inside it, and it cracked my second molar from the back. And if you go to an organ tooth chart, it will show you the meridians. So the acupuncture meridians are part of it, but these are teeth meridians, and I could also put a link in for you of a good chart, just a really simple chart. There's complicated ones too, but those teeth were connected to those organs. So basically, the second from the back, so the very back is your heart and small intestine. So I kept those. The second, on both sides, on the upper hands side, were connected to my spleen. Wait, which upper? What's the lower? Lower. Oh, this chart I'm looking at is not actually showing me which is upper and lower. I'm trying to get it right because my back two teeth were the spleen. They're either spleen and stomach or lung and large intestine, and those are the ones that went for me, was linking to those intestines. I'm not going to put that chart up. I need upper. Here we are. There's an upper chart, so I'll refer to that instead. So my point is, all the teeth are connected to an organ system. So if the organ system is weak, that's going to feed back on the teeth. If the tooth is being damaged in a specific way, I'll argue that that will also affect the organ system related, because we are very interconnected in our bodies. There's not one system that's just running on its own without communication, you know, in the body. So looking at organ tooth charts kind of can help you identify, maybe I'm nutritionally deficient if you're having it. So look, like, where is your issue in your mouth, and then follow the chart to that organ system, and then support that organ system more. Okay, so that's my point. So had I known that, what I knew then, I would have supported that a little bit more, and maybe those teeth, after the fact, after I healed just the internal organs, I would have gone a little bit deeper with that, and then I would have prevented both sides cracking, and I had to end up losing those teeth before I really knew anything else of how I could have prevented that. One was a root canal. Root canals are very dangerous, and I don't recommend them, because what I was saying, so earlier I was talking about germ theory. Well, really how infectious disease works is pleomorphic theory. So pleomorphism, where one organism can change its shape depending on its environment. So going after individual bugs is kind of silly in terms of vaccines and antibiotics and that kind of stuff, because that's not really what the root cause is. You know, it's the terrain, it's the environment that changes what's going on, what yeast, what bacteria, who's present, and who can thrive. So it's about that. So I, in my mouth issue, I did get one root canal, which was dead tissue. So anytime you have dead tissue in the body, you're affecting the terrain, and dead tissue is why those organisms come in, so they can eat it, so they can get rid of it, so they can clean it up. And so when you have a root canal, basically you're always going to have an infection. You just will, and you'll eventually weaken it to the point where it does need to come out. So it's up to you if you want to, have it, know that, mitigate the damage, do it in a palliative way, because of a structural issue, or you need to save money to get an implant, or whatever your idea is. But at least know that that's going to have to come out, and you're going to be dealing with low-level infections in your body, and you're going to need to boost your immune system supports like vitamin C, D, A, take colloidal silver on a regular basis, for example. Take botanicals that have properties that support the immune system. At least do it with wisdom, so you're not setting yourself up for a worse problem. So then the other problem with the antibiotics, which I didn't touch on, was that they will kill your good flora, which is part of, again, your environment of your body, which you need, that functions as your internal immune system. Then you have insult to injury because it just takes the stronger ones that are going to survive that assault, and they're going to recolonize elsewhere. So they're going to colonize maybe in your heart tissue. That happened to me with strep throat. So the vaccine caused dead tissue in my tonsils. The strep agent liked that, was coming in to kill those guys, was actually trying to help. Antibiotics, take the tissue out, still had it, then it just went elsewhere. It went into the mitral valve of the heart. So what's better? I think having my tonsils would be awesome, and not having a heart issue with a valve, which is a stenosis basically now. Right? So what I'm saying is that can cause another issue later. And the other problem with the medical cult is they're so brainwashed, they can't make basic connections that, giving this antibiotic led to this problem down the road, that now this person has, this major issue in their life, and they can't seem to put the two things together. But they're related. So you damage those tissues, you damage that, you're going to drive the bacteria, and you'll see it later. I mean, it takes a while for it to mount itself into its new colonies. You might feel good for years before it strikes again. So I do not recommend antibiotics. I know it's hard. It's really hard. I've had stubborn cases with people having infection, and they're like, should I go on antibiotics? Should I go on antibiotics? And it's like, antibiotics are always going to be there. Let's just work and try to get this under control, and then crap, if we have to do that, then we have to do a whole bunch of other things now to still kill that guy, and still, now fix your immune system all over again. And it's like, let's try not to go down that road. I mean, if it's coming down to like death's door, these things are heroic medicines. Like they come in to save the day because, you know, prevention wasn't there and other things weren't there, right? So they come in as these heroes, but they have their consequences and they're quite serious. So you have to think that through. Okay, so that was so that was the 2 teeth that I had in the sinus puncture, as I mentioned, and a whole bunch of stuff. And then I actually developed a small cavity after I had my baby. I was eating really, I was vegan all the way up till I got pregnant, and then I really just, I had to eat. I ate organ, like all organic organ meats and bone broths and stuff because I would have eaten a living chicken, basically, at that point. I was craving it so bad. My body was needing it. You know, it was needing the fats, it was needing the protein, it was calling out for it. I had to listen. It was very hard for me to go from like raw vegan to eating meat again, but I had to do it for my sake of my health and my baby. So you can argue that all you want. That was just my path. And so after I started to, you know, wean away a lot of those things again. And, but I went to the dentist just to get a cleaning because the other thing annoying about teeth in our modern culture is we get plaque buildup. So plaque is really, you know, the bacteria like to hide in that plaque and in that material. So, you know, here I was just getting some buildup in the back. Well, this is unacceptable. So I'd go and get it, you know, scraped off and so forth. So I'd go every 6 months. But then I started to do more research after I got this cavity, and the dentist will always say, hey, we should get it now. Like we should nip that one in the bud and just like, let's just drill and fill it now, and then it won't get worse, and then you won't have pain, and then yay, look at us, right? But the problem is that they don't even have the concept that maybe that could be stopped in a natural way. So I said, you know what? I've been reading some things. We're just gonna leave it for now, okay? And I'm gonna go and take a look. So I really dove into the research, and I really just also didn't want to spend money at the dentist anymore. I mean, it was just to get some plaque taken off and to get set up for having to fight them off. Like, no, I don't want these things. So I ended up designing my own cure for my tooth and for my cavity. And I found out about oil pulling. So I started to do oil pulling, and I actually used sesame oil because I've studied Ayurvedic medicine, which is Indian holistic medicine approach. And I know that what my good oils are, and sesame is one of my good oils. So I decided to use sesame because there's a few different ways of going about it. So I was doing oil pulling every day, and then I looked into things like coconut oil, diatomaceous earth. I was looking at all the different minerals that I might be lacking, and I designed a couple products. First I designed this one. It's called Dub Tooth Soap. A lot of you who know me probably have heard me talk about it before. So the tooth soap is black. That's why it's called Dub, because Dub is the Gaelic word for black, and it's very black. And because of the activated charcoal that I put in it, which also freshens breath and takes care of a lot of the bacteria issues, and it also helps balance the pH of the mouth. So in it is the diatomaceous earth, the bentonite clay, the coconut oil. I put Himalayan crystal salt in for those minerals. I put in Castile soap, a little bit of Castile soap. I put stevia powder. I don't rarely recommend people taking it internally, stevia, but just for the flavoring. It seems to be inert. Some people don't like it at all, and I do make a version without it. Licorice root powder, so it's like a natural sweetener, but it also has healing properties to the gums. Then I put vitamin C, calcium, magnesium, boron, glutamic acid, baking soda, activated charcoal, as I mentioned, and arrowroot powder. Arrowroot just helps it thicken. That was the hardest thing about developing this product, was getting the right paste, the consistency, right? Because people want things a certain way. That took a lot of years to figure out, and I finally did. And then some essential oils. I have a couple different scents that I make. I'm out of one of them right now, but I make a cinnamon, which is quite nice, and I make a peppermint orange. So essential oils also are very valuable to the mouth and help keep it in balance. And then I also, after a little while, developed a tooth powder. So that's the powder. You just wet your brush and put it on. And the powder is everything except the oils and the wet, stuff, and the arrowroot powder, which is not needed to thicken. And that's just a quick fix. So when I started, I just designed it for myself and my daughter. I didn't mean for it necessarily to become a staple product of my business, which it is now. But I healed it. My cavity just stopped. It didn't progress. It didn't heal over. There's just a small depression now that's white. That's it. And so I was very happy with that. But the other thing I didn't realize is I have no more plaque. My teeth are always smooth. They whiten naturally from the activated charcoal. So I don't ever go to the dentist, ever. I don't ever need to go. And I really was so happy to have that in my life, because what a pain, like time and money and stress, and who needs it? These industries should fall away. They need to like move with the crowd of knowledge or go away, because for the most part they're doing more harm than good. Obviously they're saving the day in the heroic medicine style, but besides that, besides the emergency saves, they're really causing a lot of problems and meddling mostly. Medical meddling. Say that 10 times fast. Okay, so that's the tooth soap. That's one of the remedies I will recommend to someone who's having caries or issues with gums that are inflamed. So vitamin C will help, because that's it. People are actually coming into my store with freaking scurvy. Scurvy is like a true vitamin C deficiency. It's unbelievable. Like hey, my teeth are falling out because my gums are so inflamed and red that I'm having huge issues. I'm like, well, what's your vitamin C intake? I'm like, well, I don't take any vitamin C. I'm like, well, how many fresh fruits and vegetables are you eating a day? Well, maybe just one. Or I'm like, you're vitamin C deficient. You have scurvy, for God's sake. Your gums bleed when you brush your teeth? Yeah. Then take some vitamin C. How about that? Like, I have people high dose when they have an issue. You can go up to bowel tolerance when you have an issue, or even a non-issue, or just as general maintenance, because heck, I mean, we have so many pollution aspects coming in at us. I say the more the merrier. Okay, so let's see. Root canals, meh. Mercury fillings, meh. Fluoride, meh. Eating, living, fresh, organic food. Okay, so absorption. Okay, so K2, we want to talk about. Well, Weston Price called K2 Activator X. He didn't know what it was, but that's what it is. Vitamin K2, not to be confused with K1, which is the clotting factor vitamin. K2 is different, and it will fundamentally shuttle your minerals. Like, it'll take calcium and it'll lay it down. Like, remember talking about that bone matrix? It'll lay it down properly. It'll deliver the minerals where they need to go. So that's really key. You need enough K2. A lot of it just comes from animal fats and butters and stuff like that. There's a few that come from plant material, but I'll let you look that up. And just go to food sources, K2. I usually take a supplement, mostly. Okay. So abscesses, let's talk about the different kinds of things in the mouth. So abscesses can be caused when there's a fracture in the tooth, and you can get like food particles in there. That's a cause of, then like I said, the bacteria and those guys want to come in because they want it, and the fungus and everything. They want to clean that up for you. So they're coming in to do that. And if it's not a food particle, and is dead tissue from like a chronic inflamed state, then the dead tissue, also the lymphatic system wants to come in and get that out. Now, if you have lymphatic congestion, so your dental lymph is blocked, then what's going to happen is everything's just going to get sucked into the pulp, into that break, and nobody's getting out. So you're getting chronic infection like that. So moving the lymphatic system is really key in removing the debris from the abscess of the tooth, whether it's a periodontal abscess or where it's a periapical abscess. So a periapical abscess is in your pulp, right, inside the pulp. The periodontal abscess is in the gums. So there's two different types. So it's good to sort of at least find out what you're dealing with, what type you're dealing with, and so you can refine your treatment a little bit more. If it's a true pulp, it's tougher. Why? Because you have limited blood flow to that area. So now you have to really encourage the lymph to get there. So, like rebounding is one way to do lymph. Hot and cold alternating showers is one way to move lymphatic system to pump it. Using castor oil, like if you had something, using castor oil and hot packs in there, adding essential oils into the castor oil, like frankincense, lavender, those types of things. You need to try to get that moving. You need your blood flow to harmonize with your lymph flow to get all that debris moving out. Really, at this stage, I suggest that people eat as clean as they can, but they should have butter. They should have ghee, really, because clarified butter is very anti-inflammatory. Organic, obviously, grass-fed would be ideal, and you're going to get your K2 in there when you do that, and some of the other minerals and vitamins that you need, and the right fats. And so I would definitely having a lot of that good butter when you're dealing with an abscess, on another count. But you really need to move the lymph. So there's homeopathic remedies. There's lymph diarrhea that can be used. Which do I have? Let me check. I have this one. I have Lymphogen cream. I don't know if you can see that. Lymphogen cream. So there's those creams that can, again, help drain lymph system. Water. You got to drink lots and lots and lots and lots of water, obviously, but you have to be hydrated, which means it has to absorb properly. So drinking the right type of water, having enough minerals to absorb that properly, it's needed. Things like this. Okay, so this is vitamin D. So high dose vitamin D. Vitamin A, I like it in a liquid. Because when it's in liquid form, it absorbs better. And you're going to put it on the tongue, and it goes right through the limbic system to the brain, and then it tells the brain to the stomach, hey, this is coming. Let's get what we need. Remember that communication system. Let's get this where we need it to go now. So it's coming. Let's get all our enzymes going. Let's get all our mediators there at the seed so we can get this. Okay, so yeah, so we're just going to continue on with remedies. I have a few lists around here. Another popular remedy is oregano oil. So this is oregano oil. So oregano oil will basically kill. It's a killer. It's a murderer. So, you're going to put it, I would also put it topical with castor oil, because castor oil will take whatever's in it deep into the tissues and internally on the area. There's a lot you can do locally for the area to increase the flow of blood and lymph to that spot, okay? So clove oil is one of them that's well loved and used and is in a lot of formulas. You can use it as a tincture. You can use it as an essential oil. You can pop a clove like in there, but just be careful with any of these things. Just be careful that you don't add further tissue damage, because you really are trying to encourage flow and encourage the antiseptic qualities of these things to the area, but not at the risk of damaging your tissue so that you cause more inflammation, right? So it's a fine balance with what you're doing. Okay, so the oil pulling I talked about, I would be doing that. Peppermint oil is really good. Peppermint oil is like your oregano will kill a lot of these things, but peppermint is a cooling. So when you do something like cooling to the body, it usually increases blood flow to compensate. So you're getting kind of two things there when you use peppermint. Just be careful not to overuse essential oils, because they can be toxic in high doses, right? And you never ingest these things. This is only for topical use. Now, the other thing is, if you want to tighten tissues, you use astringents. Astringents are like witch hazel. Astringents are black tea. You can take a black tea bag and soak it in water. You can squeeze out some of that, and you can actually park the tea bag at the area of the tooth and let those tissues like astringe or tighten up again, because the tissue quality is what's important as well when you have chronic inflammation, which is purposeful, because the inflammation is trying to get the immune system in there to like get out those problems, right? But when it becomes chronic, then you're getting secondary damage. So that's trying to help prevent too much secondary tissue damage. Okay. Also, you can use a potato slice. So you can take a raw potato and you can cut it into slice, and you can park it in wherever the area is in the mouth and leave that for, you know, an hour or so. And the potato is actually very antiseptic. And a lot of vegetables. I mean, carrot is known for, like, you can do carrot poultice over the neck. If you have a sore throat, it'll draw out stuff. So even plantain leaves, like plantain's plethora outside right now. And you can take plantain leaves and you can sort of crunch them up, and you can also park that in beside where the tooth is, inside the mouth. And plantain is nature's band-aid. It will soothe skin. And this is like internal skin, your gums, your mouth, right? The oral cavity. Okay, sesame seeds also are very antiseptic and healing. So you can take, like what I was saying, I was using sesame oil to pull, but you can take the seeds and you can take, I think it's 4 teaspoons of seeds per 1 cup of water, and you boil that, and then you take that liquid and you dip like a cotton ball inside, and again park it in the spot, and that's also, you know, very helpful to be antiseptic to that space. Baking soda, apple cider vinegar, olive oil, calendula, hydrogen peroxide. Hydrogen peroxide you can do 2 teaspoons per 1 tablespoon of water, and you just like swish it in the mouth, spit. Papaya, the enzymes in papaya can assist the issue and is antiseptic in that regard. I like to use iodine as well. I use it, you know, I try to do it topical, and I try to do it all in the area. If there's a cavity, you can take like a Q-tip or a toothpick and like dab the iodine onto the spot, onto the cavity itself. So that can also help that reduce and prevent its spread. Propolis is one that I really like, and Manuka honey. So the bees have some solutions for us. The propolis is kind of, it's a resin, and I do have some somewhere. And you can almost use it as a gum, and you can pack it. Like if it's cavity or broken tooth, you can actually pack the propolis sort of in, and like as a space occupier to, like, say you can't get to the dentist and you have an open tooth or something that's very severe, you can actually use it as like a substitute filling. But propolis, again, very antiseptic, antibacterial, antiviral. Like you can put that in the area to help kill bacteria. But these are things that kill it topically. These things I've given you is stuff that you can use topically. You can eat the Manuka honey. Manuka honey will support the immune system. But now you can drink calendula tea. You know, you can wash your mouth with it and you can drink that tea. But my point is, like, you have to get your immune system up from the inside. So you need to take those other high doses of vitamins, and you need to have a very mineral-rich diet. The boron I was mentioning, how you can get boron really cheaply. I mean, you can get it in a colloidal solution as a supplement, but the high doses that you want, you can actually take borax, and it's like pure, you know, borax right out of the ground, and you take 1 teaspoon of that per 1 liter of pure water, and you dilute that, make sure it's all diluted in, and then you take of that solution 1 teaspoon of that twice or 3 times a day, depending on what you're dealing with. Twice a day will give you 7 milligrams of boron, and you can also take it with magnesium. Where's my magnesium? I like this magnesium because it's topical. Carolyn Dean's magnesium is also very excellent. I really like it. But Ease, it's called here. So it's a liquid, and you can just spray it on your skin and rub it in the skin. And when you take it with boron, they help each other to absorb best. So you're trying to help all your nutrients assimilate properly. Because you can take it all you want, but if you don't absorb it and it doesn't get delivered to the tissue that you're after, it's useless. So you really need to get it to the right delivery mechanism. Another thing for the immune system, and I'm going to wrap it up soon or get to questions. If there's any questions, put them in now because I'm going to go take a look. Chaga. So this is chaga. I don't know if you can see that. So chaga is wild chaga mushroom. Okay. And it, like mushrooms, have beta glucans. They have certain properties that really ramp up and support the immune system. So if you're doing any type of protocol where you have an infection, you need to get your immune system working for you, and you need to unclog the lymphatic system, and you need to make sure the liver is moving the blood properly. I would even go as far to do some coffee enemas. I would. If I had something really going on, I would be doing coffee enemas, because that's going to clean up that blood and get any toxicity out of the blood. So the other thing that I really like to use is DMSO, dimethyl sulfuric sulfonyl. Oh crap! Somebody tell me what it is. DMSO. Stupid scientific chemistry names. Okay, I'm finding this article right now because it's awesome. Actually, I'll post it. It's all about DMSO. So DMSO you can use. There are ways you can use it orally. You got to look it up properly. Okay. It's sulfur. I mean, I take DMSO, but I also take sulfur crystals, which is the MSM, but they're a bit different. DMSO is classic sulfur compound, and it's very stinky, but it's not that bad. I mean, for what you're getting, like, get over it, you know. So what? It doesn't smell the best. It smells like eggs or something. But it detoxes everything, and it also blocks pain. So if you're in pain, man, I mean, use DMSO. Just put it on topically to that area with coconut oil or something, so that you don't damage the skin. Because if you put it straight on the skin, it can kind of like burn the skin a little bit. It's actually considered an industrial solvent. Of course, the FDA won't recognize the fact that it has like thousands of health uses, but whatever. Okay, it's useful, and it says 300 amines, and it's perfectly safe. I'm just looking for the long name. Why the heck can't I find it? Anyway, dimethyl sulfonyl oxidase or something like that. You can look that one up. I really like it. I really started using it more recently, because the other thing with DMSO is, especially if you're getting out your toxic metals out of your mouth, then you can use DMSO to chelate heavy metals. It's a fantastic, fantastic chelator of heavy metals, like aluminum and mercury and like lead. I mean, it will take that out. It's huge. Everyone's full of this stuff. If you have candida, basically you're full of heavy metals, because candida usually is stubborn, and it comes in to try to like sequester and deal with heavy metals. So, you know, go with the DMSO. There's internal protocols. There's even protocols for the eyes. There's protocols for all sensitive tissues. Just look it up and know what you're doing before you apply it, because if you don't do the right ratio, you can hurt yourself, and I don't want you to hurt yourself. But it does smell like sulfur. It is a sulfuric smell. Okay, well, I'm gonna go to dimethyl sulfur. I'm stuck on this name now. I must obsessively find the answer. Sulfonyl. Crap, can't read that one. Okay. So let me go to questions. See if there's any questions. Great points. Interesting. Okay. So we're good. I know I went on and on, but I'm really hoping to put this one more accessible. Like I'll download it to YouTube, and then you can go through it again if you need more information like that you missed. And again, this is like a small amount. I didn't get into half of what's even out there, honestly. All I'm saying is there's ways to heal these things naturally and holistically, and if you really want to do it right, that's the way you do it. But don't think you can just do like one little thing, and apply like just clove oil, and that's going to be the end of it. I mean, once something takes root, takes hold in the body, You really need to have a multi-phasic and multi-level approach, and you also need to do it a lot longer than the symptoms. So when the symptoms disappear, you need to go at least 3 more weeks with your protocol. You can't just stop your protocol because you'll revert. So symptoms become more subtle and subtle and subtle as things heal, and you're, oh yay, I'm healed, like I can stop this now, yay me, right? And then, oh crap, it came back, right? No, you have to be very diligent. I like the colloidal silver, as I mentioned, doing washes in the mouth, rinsing. You can swish and swallow with that. That actually does kill strep, viridans. Kills all strep agents. You can take it for strep throat, colloidal silver. It will, instead of an antibiotic for strep throat, you can use colloidal silver. I've done it personally, successfully, and I've never had it come back after I did it properly with colloidal silver. So I had many, many bouts using antibiotics for strep, and it always came back. So just because we found some, a bacteria or a fungus that was like oozing its own stuff to like kill other agents doesn't mean that it's the only thing that's out there that kills anything or has any merit. There's botanicals, lots of, I'll just touch on a few. Calendulas is like I touched on. Okay, well, I think that's it. I think I got to what I wanted to in my little crazy notes. And go get your potato slices in your mouth. That sounds yummy. Hey, if you don't want to do the potato slices, eat well. Then you won't get the periodontal issues, okay? So it just comes down to that. Stop eating the grains. Stop eating the margarines. Stop drinking the pop. Stop smoking cigarettes. Stop chewing these sugar-free toxic gums that totally change the pH of the mouth. No, you can't just live. You can live like that. Go all you want, but you're going to be in the dentist chair. You're going to be in discomfort, and you're going to lose teeth, and then you're going to be into Dentureville. And dentures have their own set of issues, which I didn't even touch on today. So actually, I made for a woman a natural denture cleaner. I get customers that come in, they're like, hey, you make stuff. Can you make me this? I was like, so that was a recent one. Denture cleaner. All right. It's basically citric acid, so citric acid and a couple other ingredients. It was easy to make. Okay, so that's it for now. Keep your teeth happy and shiny, and if you need any other things regarding that, like, if you want the tooth powder or the tooth soap, that's on my website. My website is yummymummy.apothecary.org, and it's available there. And so are a lot of the supplements. And if you don't see the supplements, then ask. I can bring in just about anything. I also have a pain cream available if you are in pain and you need to manage the pain to deal with a dental issue. It's called Pain Away Dream Cream. Oops, here it is. Almost dropped it. There. So that is hemp leaf, arnica, and the most amazing remedy, which I didn't even get to talk about, was St. John's wort, especially if you have nerve pain. So this is St. John's wort oil here. Look how beautiful red that is. Ooh. St. John's wort oil. Made from the fresh flowers. And you can apply that onto the face. You can also use it in the homeopathic if you have like all the nerve pain. Tons of homeopathics. Go look up dental issues or cavities or abscesses and homeopathy. You'll get a list, find a good list, read them, which is the best match to my scenario and my situation, and work with that. Because honestly, homeopathic is whole body, and you're going to deal with it from a submolecular approach as well. You're doing all the other molecular stuff. So don't discount homeopathy either for healing teeth. Well, thanks for listening to me discuss dentition and abscesses and teethy subjects, and we'll talk again soon. I appreciate you being here. Bye.